Let me take you back to a moment that changed my life forever. I was just 11 years old, and like many families struggling to make ends meet, we had no food for Thanksgiving, none. I'm not talking about missing dessert or skipping seconds. I mean literally nothing. Just crackers and peanut butter. My father had lost his job. My parents were fighting bitterly, and I remember sitting there thinking, this is not how life is supposed to feel. The pain in that room was so thick you could choke on it. And in the middle of all this chaos, something happened that I'll never forget. There was a knock at the door. I opened it, and a stranger stood there holding a bag of groceries, a complete stranger. And in that moment, everything shifted for me. It wasn't just the food. It was the feeling that someone out there cared. Someone I didn't even know believed we were worth helping. That day taught me a powerful lesson. Life happens for you, not to you. Now, I'll be honest, back then, I didn't fully understand it. All I knew was that I wanted to give back the same way someone gave to us. That's where the seed was planted. That one act of kindness made me see that pain can lead to purpose. That suffering can ignite service. And the truth is, most people miss this. They spend their lives asking, why me, instead of, what can I do with this? Fast forward a few years. I was 17, living in a 400 square foot apartment, washing my dishes in the bathtub, working as a janitor, and still I felt something inside me stirring. I knew I was meant for more, not because I was special, but because I had experienced real pain. And pain, if you let it, becomes a passport to empathy. That's where I found my voice. That's where I found my drive. You see, motivation isn't some fluffy, positive thinking trick. It's a decision. It's waking up and saying, I refuse to live on autopilot. If you've ever been down, if you've ever felt like the odds were stacked against you, good, that's where the fire begins. That's your moment, because nobody builds resilience in the sunshine. We grow in the storm. And when you come out the other side, you're not just stronger, you're wiser, you're grounded. I share this not because my story is unique. In fact, it's the opposite. Too many people carry silent stories of struggle. Silent pain, silent battles, but if you use it, if you flip the script, your greatest pain can become your greatest power. And once you taste that, you can never go back to playing small. That's the beginning of real change. Most people think change happens in some big, dramatic moment. They imagine this lightning bolt of motivation striking out of nowhere. But let me tell you the truth, it's rarely like that. Real transformation begins in silence. In the quiet decisions you make when no one's watching, it begins the moment you say, I've had enough, I'm not going to live like this anymore. That moment is everything, not because the world changes, but because you change. You shift from being a passenger in your own life to being the one behind the wheel. It's not about wishing for a better life, it's about deciding you deserve one, and then backing that decision with action. Day after day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. I call this the power of standards. You don't get your goals. You get your standards. You get what you're willing to tolerate. If you tolerate being broke, you'll stay broke. If you tolerate being tired, unhealthy, or stuck, you'll stay there. But when you raise your standards, everything starts to shift. You stop negotiating with your excuses. You stop blaming other people. And you start realizing that you are responsible for your life. Let's be real, most people don't have motivation problems, they have clarity problems, they don't know what they want. Or if they do, they haven't made it non-negotiable. The difference between I'd like to be fit and I will never miss a workout again is the difference between a wish and a standard. Standards create results, wishes create frustration. Now here's something powerful. Your environment shapes your standards. You can be the most driven person in the world, but if you're surrounded by people who settle, who gossip, who make excuses, you will eventually shrink to fit that environment. That's why I always say, proximity is power. Who you spend time with is who you become, period. You've got to protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. That doesn't mean cutting everyone out, it means being intentional. You need people who challenge you, who hold you to a higher level, who don't let you slide when you're capable of more. If you don't have that right now, that's okay. Start being that person for yourself. Be your own accountability, be your own motivator, and trust me, Once you live at that level, the right people start showing up. But let's not sugarcoat it. Change is uncomfortable, growth is messy, you'll fail. You'll question yourself, you'll feel like giving up. That's normal, but here's what's not normal: settling for a life that doesn't fulfill you. That's the real risk, and that's the trap so many people fall into. They mistake comfort for happiness, but they're not the same. True happiness comes from progress, from knowing you're becoming who you were born to be. Every day is a chance to raise your standards just a little higher. To say, this is who I am now, this is how I live. And if you do that consistently, if you make those quiet decisions day after day, eventually the results start screaming louder than your doubts ever did. That's where the shift happens, not in one big leap, but in 1,000 small steps stacked with discipline and belief. Let's talk about momentum, because that's what most people underestimate. They think motivation is about waking up every day with fire in their belly. That's not it. Motivation is a byproduct of momentum. When you start seeing progress, no matter how small, you start believing more, and when you believe more, you do more, and when you do more, you grow more. It's a cycle, it's a snowball, and it starts with just one push. Think of it like this: your life is like a train. At rest, it takes enormous energy to get it moving, but once it's rolling, once the engine's fired and the wheels are turning, it's almost unstoppable. The mistake most people make is they wait to feel like doing something before they take action. But the truth is, feelings follow action. You don't wait until you're confident to speak. You speak, and then confidence shows up. You don't wait until you're ready to start. You start, and then you figure it out. So how do you build momentum? You keep your promises to yourself. That's it. Simple. If you say you're going to wake up at 6 a.m., do it. If you say you're going to go for a walk, go. Those tiny promises are what shape your identity, and identity is everything, because we always act in alignment with who we believe we are. You start believing you're disciplined, you'll act disciplined. You believe you're lazy, you'll act lazy. So the work begins by shifting the story you tell yourself. Let me be crystal clear: you are not your past, you are not your circumstances, you are not your mistakes. You are the pattern you choose to repeat, and every time you act in alignment with your highest self, you reinforce a new identity. You become the type of person who follows through, who doesn't negotiate with excuses, who doesn't break promises, not to others and definitely not to themselves. But here's the part people don't want to hear: momentum takes time, it takes consistency. There's no cheat code, there's no hack. You can't cram greatness into a weekend. You build it day by day, brick by brick. You stack wins, you track progress, you course correct. And over time, you don't just build momentum, you become momentum. People look at you and say, how do they keep going? But they didn't see the grind. They didn't see the nights you wanted to quit but didn't. They didn't see the discipline in the dark, and that's okay. You don't need applause, you need to remember why you started. Now let me give you a warning: momentum can go both ways. Just like positive momentum can pull you toward growth, negative momentum can drag you deeper into a rut. Skipping one workout becomes skipping the week. One bad meal becomes a spiral. One excuse becomes your identity. That's why it's so important to catch yourself early. Interrupt the pattern before it becomes a lifestyle. That's the power of awareness. That's the power of standards we talked about in Chapter 2. When you feel off track, don't panic, don't shame yourself. Just ask, what's one small promise I can keep today? That's it. Not perfection, progress. You don't need to overhaul your life in a day. You need to win today. One clean meal, one walk, one positive conversation, one journal entry. It's not the size of the action. It's the consistency that matters. That's how you regain momentum. That's how you rebuild confidence, not through some magical transformation, but through aligned daily effort. And here's what's beautiful: when you start living this way, you become an example. You become proof that it's possible. People around you start noticing. Your kids, your coworkers, your friends, they see the shift. They feel your energy, and without even saying a word, you start to lift others up, just by living at your highest level. That's the ripple effect of momentum. That's the legacy you're building every single day. let's get into something real, something most people avoid talking about, the battle between fear and identity. See, the greatest enemy of progress isn't laziness, and it's not a lack of time. It's fear, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough, and let me tell you something. It's not the fear that stops you. It's your relationship with fear, because fear is not the enemy. Fear is feedback. It's trying to protect you. But if you let it run the show, you'll live your whole life inside a cage you built yourself. Here's what I've learned in my own journey and in working with thousands of people. Every breakthrough is on the other side of fear. Always. You want a better body. You've got to face the fear of discomfort. You want to start that business. You've got to face the fear of failure. You want to speak your truth. You've got to face the fear of rejection. That's the toll. That's the price of admission. You don't get transformation without confrontation. But here's the good news. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to move with the fear, because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's action in spite of it. Now, let's talk about identity again, because this is where real change happens. If your identity is "I'm not good with money," then even if you make more, you'll sabotage it. If your identity is "I'm not consistent," you'll keep proving that true. But what if you shifted that story? What if you started saying, "I'm becoming a person who honors commitments. I'm learning to manage money. I'm training my mind to be resilient." You see, identity isn't fixed. It's a choice. It's a habit. You don't need to be perfect to change. You need to be committed. I'll give you a quick exercise I use with my clients. Ask yourself, who do I need to become to achieve what I want? Then ask, what would that version of me do today? Not in 5 years, not when you feel ready. Today, start living from that future self right now, because identity shapes behavior, and behavior reinforces identity. It's a loop. If you act like the person you want to become, even in small ways, your mind starts catching up. And soon, the gap between who you are and who you want to be begins to close. But be careful. This isn't about pretending. This isn't about fake affirmations or surface-level positivity. This is about alignment. When your thoughts, your words, and your actions align with who you want to be, that's when real transformation sticks. That's when change becomes your new normal, not a 30-day challenge, not a New Year's resolution, but a lifestyle. And let me tell you, when you live in alignment with your true identity, it feels different. There's a sense of peace even in the chaos. There's clarity even in uncertainty. There's strength, not the loud, ego-driven kind, but the quiet, grounded strength that comes from knowing who you are. One more thing, you're not doing this just for you. Your identity shift gives permission to others. You become an example. When you rise, you lift people with you, and that's what the world needs right now. Real people, doing real work, leading from the front. Not perfection, not performance, just truth, just growth, just heart. So if you've been stuck, if fear's been calling the shots, or your past identity has been holding you hostage, this is your wake-up call. It's time to update the story. You're not your mistakes. You're not your environment. You're not what they said about you. You are what you choose to become. That's your power, and it starts today. So here we are. After everything we've talked about, clarity, consistency, courage, identity, there's one truth that remains. Your life does not change with time. It changes with decision, not someday, not next month. Not when things slow down now, because listen, the clock's already ticking. Time is the one resource you don't get back. You can rebuild your business. You can fix relationships. You can even recover your health in many cases. But you can't rewind the years you spent playing small, waiting for permission, or letting fear dictate your choices. So the question is simple. What are you waiting for? You don't need more motivation. You need movement. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take the first step. And you already know what that is. You've known it for a while. It's that conversation you've been avoiding. That habit you've been putting off. That dream that keeps showing up in your heart even when the world calls it crazy. That's not random. That's your soul talking, and it's time to listen. The truth is, the life you want is already available. It's not in a secret book or a hidden seminar. It's in the small decisions you make daily, when you choose discipline over comfort, when you choose action over anxiety, when you choose to live by design, not by default. That's when the game changes, and here's the most beautiful part: you're not alone. You've got a tribe of people just like you, hungry, humble, and committed to growth. People who know that personal power is something you build, not something you're born with. People who have decided that good enough isn't good enough anymore. If you're still here listening, I know you're one of them. So I want to challenge you right here, right now, to commit. Commit to one action today. Not 10, just one, something that aligns with the person you're becoming. Maybe it's writing down your goals for real this time. Maybe it's deleting that distraction. Maybe it's telling someone the truth. Whatever it is, do it now, not later, now, and when you take that step, come back and share it. Let this channel be a space where we rise together, where we share wins, not just struggles, where we lift each other up instead of playing small to fit in. Rubins Talk isn't just a channel, it's a movement, a reminder that you were made for more and you don't need permission to pursue it. So if this message resonated with you, don't just keep it to yourself. Share it, comment below with the one shift you're making today, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because we're just getting started. Every week we're diving deep, real talk, raw motivation, proven strategies. This is your space to refuel, reset, and rise. I believe in you, not because you've got it all figured out, but because you're still in the game. You showed up, you're doing the work, and that means something. Now go out there and own your story, rewrite it if you have to, because your next level, it's not waiting, it's already here. Let's make it count.